I think they're in Lucky's tonight. I don't see anybody in there yet.
For some, death and the loss of a loved one may seem final. Are they gone forever? In many cultures, death is only the beginning of something new. After the loss of a loved one, do they in fact visit us in our dreams? And do they give us messages? Do they tell us that they are in fact safe and sound and perfectly healthy and happy? Life can be traumatizing and very difficult, and healing is a large part of the immediate afterlife. Humans surviving through the loss of those they loved are one of life's hardest trials. It is well known that the human grief process of denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and eventually acceptance is different for everyone, taking weeks, months, and even years to work out. There are numerous cases of reported paranormal events that have been studied and experienced of those souls we believe who have crossed over. Those who have never truly left the earthly planes because they can't let go. And in many cases, they can make objects move or do things to attract our attention. It is also reported that souls in the process of crossing over, and even those who are already enjoying the afterlife, can also infiltrate our subconscious dream worlds to increase our awareness of them, so they can help us in our grieving or daily life challenges. Do those we love ever truly leave us? Some believe that dreaming about deceased loved ones can be a way of their souls to reach into your consciousness as they are leaving Earth. These dreams can be a way of your mind to process your thoughts and feelings about them. The meaning depends upon the specifics of your relationships with those who have passed away. Such dream visitations can lead to profound spiritual insights and emotional or physical healings. There are some more advanced souls who've been trained on how to reach out to you in your dreams. We call these souls dream weavers. Such encounters are said to be much more vivid and impactful than regular dreams, and more of a deeper union between highly connected and trusted souls. Dream-weaving souls will often let you know that they are always with you and watching over you. Sometimes a deceased family member, dream weavers, will appear in our dreams to convey an important message, not only for us, but often for others who need to be warned or healed. They go to the ones they feel connected to the most, and those who are open to receiving such communication. These conversations and exchanges provide the peace needed to move forward in life without being weighed down by grief, guilt, or judgments. Their messages can help you find closure, healing, comfort, encouragement, and peace. Dreamweavers are divine guides and can be aspects of your higher selves or previous incarnations. Awesome, awesome. Welcome everyone to Andromeda 7, your celestial gateway and your channel for community support, help, friendship, love, and knowledge. It's good to be with you tonight. Hey, we are all four of us are on one tonight. High energy, high vibing. This is going to be a good show. We're talking about departing souls and dream weavers. And
Yeah.
did you guys all have a good
I
week?
like that.
Got Teresa D'Anton in the house. D'Anton. Lo siento,
Thank
por
you.
favor. Sophia is in
Bueno.
the house. Sophia's in the house. What's up, Wild Birds Wisdom? She's getting started on all her goodies, getting ready to launch her new endeavor, and we're wishing her lots of good luck. Grandpa Brian, always a pleasure to see you. Welcome tonight. Love it.
Thank you for having me.
Good. You guys have a good week last week? Everything goes smooth for you? I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somewhat.
For the most part.
All righty then. Okay.
Rain, rain, rain. Wind, wind, wind.
Let's acknowledge everyone in chat. Hey, Scotty boy, what you doing? Good to see you. Missed you last time. Hi, Barry Chad, Elder Barry. Good to see you. Very good evening to you as well. Good. Miss Chloe. Chloe's in the house. Chloe's Crystals. If you haven't checked out her channel, she has some beautiful crystals. I could go crazy with those crystals. I like that dragon one. That was really cool too. I saw that one. Steve, good to see you. Hello, our friend. Good to see you. Gazaka, backyard. Hey, how the bees doing? Very cool. Doing some planting and sweet corn today. Right on.
Yeah.
Gotta love that. It's good. Good. I love anything that's grown in the ground. It's the good stuff. Loretta Enigma, good to see you as well. Very good. Wonderful. Welcome. Let's see. I think, yeah, I just
Trina
said
Bean.
that.
Trina
Yeah.
Bean jumped in.
Trina,
Hey, Trina.
what's up, Trina? Good to see you as well. How wonderful. Yeah, we just sent some love and healing to Dalibor tonight. He just couldn't make it tonight, so we're wishing him all the
Yeah.
best. Get some rest and feel better. It's all good.
Love you, buddy.
Yeah, we love our Dalibor.
Yeah,
A
we
crazy scientific dude.
do. And shit.
We
And
love you,
shit.
Dalibor. We know
As he
you're
says.
watching. We know he's
Yeah.
watching.
Yep. So feel
Hey, buddy.
better.
Listening and watching.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sending you healing.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
listen,
Absolutely.
everyone. We know that grief and loss of a loved one, including our beloved pets, is a devastating blow, and it creates an emotional charge in the body. And it's to experience the lower vibrations of loss and that disconnection from them. Our soul agreements with each other are why we experience it. And to the degree we feel the loss is the teaching and, of course, the expansion of our souls. And I wanted to share with you, shortly after my father's very significant departure, he did, in fact, enter into my dream state. And he looked like he was in his 30s. And the first thing he wanted me to know was he was no longer sick and that he was completely healthy and happy. And this was really important to him, that he got this across. And he hugged me and he told me how happy and perfect his state of being was at that moment, and that he was very proud of me. So, yeah, thank you all for joining us tonight. This topic goes deep, and understanding death is a large part of the human experience, and healing can be a long road to acceptance. And it can be a very touchy subject because everyone has a different idea and belief system on how all this works. And for me, I have a spirit guide who was human and is a true spirit guide. And I learned so much from him as to how things work and how our loved ones really are concerned about us. They're very concerned about how you're going to react, how you're doing, how the loss hits you. Some really, for me, I didn't even cry when my dad passed, and he passed in my arms. And it was the most profound experience I'd had ever experienced in my lifetime. And it really was the catalyst and the catapult that got me into the spiritual side of things, because I really wanted to know more. And I just had this craving for it. And I absorbed everything I possibly could about death, even to the degree of how your body is prepared for um, when you're not buried and you're incinerated. Very forensically, that was difficult, but I wanted to know every aspect of it and how it worked. So it was quite an interesting experience. And so I'm curious as to how you guys experiencing the death of a loved one. I know, Teresa, your personal story, and how your relationship with your parents and your father was a little different from mine. But I had done a lot of healing and forgiving and letting go of things. So I wasn't really in a place where I was going to hang on to any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I know for you, it was different. And I thought maybe it'd be good for you to talk about how you
Sure.
handled that
Yeah.
during your loss.
Well,
Yeah.
not everybody has, you know, I've given this a lot of thought, this topic, and it's taken me a long time to get to where I am now, to be open to true soul connections and to really understand them. But I think your story is beautiful, and not that it's rare, but it's pure.
Mm.
And I think that the reason mine differed so much is that it depends on the state of our relationships with the ones that we love that pass away. Where is
And
our
your
frame of
beliefs.
mind at that
Mhm.
time?
Mhm.
And what kind of relationship, what kind of things you didn't have closure on? For me, there was a lot of anger, frustration, disappointment, judgment. I didn't have things as cleared up as I could have. And so my frame of mind when both of them passed away, at a great time distance between the dates of them passing, I wasn't open to wanting to grieve them. I didn't cry. I didn't vent. I didn't miss them. Um, Things were left unresolved. And when you hold on to that for so long, the types of things that came into my dream world were not good memories, but they were the same judgmental, controlling, manipulating, gruff, rough people that they were at certain times in my life. And so I didn't have positive dream experiences. And so I shrugged it off as just more lingering, almost like a haunting in my mind of them. And it wasn't until I became more spiritually awake after I had done a lot of paranormal investigating, and but particularly after I came into this community and started understanding my awakening and what soul agreements were. Lori regressed me um, with my mom and my dad, and I was able to let go of old paradigms. That's another thing that makes that crossing over of and the soul visitations not so pleasant is when you have paradigms about things, how you perceive bad and good, how you perceive evil or not, um, and how you judge others and not take responsibility yourself for things that didn't go right during those relationships, and understanding that there's experiences that actually made me better, um, things that actually helped me become a better person, and that was their function, that was their role, and those experiences was part of my agreement to go through. And now I can remember all the best of times and the good times and how they backed me up and stood up for me and supported me no matter what profession I wanted to go into, no matter what I wanted to do. So now all the positive things come in. And now when they come into my dream to communicate with me and spread their wisdom and knowledge, I'm open to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can bring that into my conscious world and make better choices. So there's been a great deal of healing. And I think the same thing occurs when you're visited by spirits outside of your dream. Um, Depending on how you were with those entities, if you had a relationship with any of them, they can either frighten the hell out of you because you're allowing that in your thoughts, or it can be a very um, loving encounter with friends and family and ancestors that you overlooked. So I think, and I know it's going to come at the end of the program when we have final thoughts, but I'm just going to say it up front. Use this time with your loved ones to the greatest extent possible. Practice that acceptance and forgiving and nurture that relationship. Hold on to the better parts of it, even though there's rough times and bad times, because time is fleeting and you never know when someone's exit plan is going to kick in. And when you're left holding things that you can't let go of, it's they also have a need to let go to move on into the spirit life. So we're holding on to them, we're holding on to certain aspects and energies and frequencies that's keeping them from moving on. And we'll get to that later in the discussion.
Yeah, well,
But
now that you mentioned it, so one of the things I learned about when people pass was when you hold on to the grief, and don't get me wrong, grief is really important. You need to understand that loss of connection and you need to feel the grief, and I get it. And I don't want to take that away from anyone. But my dad expressed to me that it makes it very hard for them to move on as well. And so the harder you hang on, the harder it is for them to move on. And it's really important for them to move on to their next level and where they're going to be. But that doesn't make it any easier for us on earth, missing those people that were a huge part of our lives, that are part of our soul group, that our souls are intricately intertwined. That's not easy for anyone. And for example, and I think it's just that I'm a very strong person, and I don't I don't react like most people do, because I do understand this. I understand things are on a whole different level. But I had a very loved pet, my dog, and I had him for almost 17 years, and I could tell it was time for him to go, and he was having a heck of a time. Every time he took a step, and Sophia, I know you can relate to this. Every time they took a step, it was painful, it was heartbreaking. It was so difficult to watch him do that. And my pet said, "Listen, I've had a long, happy, healthy life. You're the best mom ever. I love you so much, and I wanna go home. I need to go home, and I wanna heal, and I
oh,
wanna be better." And I said, "All right, you got it." And so I scooped him up, I took him to the emergency hospital for pets, and I asked them to do that for him, to let him go home. And the guy came out, and he set him on the table, and he had a little intravenous thing, um and the guy looked at me, "Do you want a few minutes with your pet?" And I said, "Look, I've had 17 years with my animal, and I don't want to wait another moment for him to not be healthy and happy.
right.
Do it now. Do it right now." "Well, we can't undo this if you decide not to." I said, "I don't know who you're used to dealing with, but do it now." And my dog looked at me, and I looked at him, and with just love in my heart, and I let him go. And later, when I was able to speak to him, he thanked me for that. He said, "Thank you for um, getting me out of that earth plane." He said, "My body was, every time I took a step, it was pain. Every time I ate or drank something, my jaw hurt. I had aches and pains. I was ready to go." And I said, "Well, I'm glad that that's how it all worked out, because at the time I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing, but my gut instinct was you're doing the right thing. So you've got to make those hard decisions, and you have to be strong for them and for yourself. But I know it doesn't make it easy for people out there who just are so attached and love them so much, to let them go. It is a loving, giving experience to let them go. um, so yeah, I wanted to express that. Uh, Sophia, how about you? What's your take on loss and losing a loved one?
I feel that loss and losing a loved one, first of all, is a privilege. To be that close to someone, for me, it's sacred, as
Mm-hmm.
is death, as is birth. Oh man, you really got me going, Lori. I
I'm
don't like
sorry.
crying on camera, but it's healthy. I'm okay,
Yes.
sweetheart. Thank you.
Yeah.
Husby's checking on me.
Yeah.
But
It's healing.
it is. It is. And my biggest challenge with what we're talking about was I take great comfort, because I lost my father as well a little over a year ago. And I lost Molly back in April, my companion, 15 years. And I feel the hardest part was accepting the change, allowing the new normal,
Yep.
and not feeling guilty for continuing when their contract was done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, being a born psychic and active medium, I've always been a medium of some degree and caliber. Camp Chesterfield's just helped it a lot. Um, I'm able to communicate with my dad and Molly, but it's very subtle. It's not, the intensity when they were here in the physical plane, but it's a connection nonetheless. So I don't know if that helped the process or made it worse,
Mm-hmm.
but I agree with what you said, that if you don't allow yourself the healthy process of grief, and like you said, you know, it could take months, it could take years. I think a part of us never really gets over it. We just
Mm-hmm.
get used to, what we don't have control over. Because so in my experience, when somebody moves from this life into spirit, it's between them and
Mm-hmm.
source
Mm-hmm.
as to when they go. Um,
It's that
but
not knowing. It's the
yeah,
not knowing that really allows you to hang on to the grief, because you don't know where they are. You don't know what they're doing. You don't
I
know if
do.
they're. I know, and
I'm
that's what
just
I'm.
being
That's my point.
selfish. I'm just
That's
being
And you
my
don't
point.
selfish.
and you
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't know why they chose
Mm-hmm.
to exit that way or at that time. If you believe that you have choices and that you're here for reasons, then you're naturally not going to stay forever. You're going to move on. And so they may have made a choice to move on.
Mm-hmm.
What really helps me is, one, my spirituality, and being, not only a universalist, also true, which we're the good guys, because there's some shade out there that's ridiculous, but also a spiritualist. It's like dimensions that are going side by side. And if, at least for me, allowing my mind to quiet, you don't have that connection like when they were alive, but I've been able to do, things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
just, it's more of a homage thing, and it's an honor. It's like when I started, and if I get emotional, forgive me, when and this is recent, when I decided to, donate my father's clothes. He was there the whole time. He's like, no one in this house can wear these. And
Yeah.
some of them were nice suits, that he
Mm-hmm.
would wear to his services. And he was like, you have to let them go.
Mm-hmm.
It's time. And so somebody else can get some use out of it. So that was me honoring what wishes I felt my dad had,
Right.
and including them on things. It's like my grandma had been gone. They died on the same day. Go get that. 8'8", but
Hand in hand, let's go together.
10 years apart. It's crazy.
Hmm.
But and then I'll close with this. It was like when I got the job where I'm at now. You know, my grandma had been in spirit for a year and a half, and after the last interview, I sat in the front seat of my car. I was like, "Did you see that, Grandma? Did you see that?" and it's very subtle, but I can feel spirit be like, "Yeah, babe, I saw that. I saw that." So, just allowing it and releasing the selfishness and finding comfort, what comfort you can find in something healthy. Yeah.
Grandpa Brian, how about you? How do you deal with it?
Well, the first time that I actually really experienced a family member dying, I was at the age of 13 with my grandfather. And then in 90, I had both my grandmothers die within 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a rough time. And then my cousin, it's been 23 years since someone kicked in his door and shot and killed him. But then I had other family members like my stepdad, dad, and brother that we knew in advance that they would be passing away. So we actually got to spend time. So those deaths were a little easier than like with my cousins and my grandmothers because they both passed suddenly. So did my grandpa and so did my cousin. So the other ones, they were easier for me to get through because I actually got to spend time with them, knowing that they were going to be leaving this earth, and got to say I love you, and just all that. And then
Yeah.
the same way with my mom's oldest brother, Uncle Clay, we knew for months what was going to happen, and then 2 months after he passed away, the son that he adopted passed away suddenly. So that was another traumatic. He is the only actual family member that's came and visited me. I know my stepdad watches over me when I'm on a steep roof to make sure I'm being safe. He's always there for me while I'm at work. But my cousin was the only one that ever came to me in a dream and got the chance to say our goodbyes then. I know
I use
this
Ryan.
past week, well, last week, Wayne caught COVID, and that COVID turned into double pneumonia, and he almost died. And he was talking about he was at the gates, but it wasn't time for him to cross over. He seen Brian, seen all kinds of family members and all that. So he actually got to interact. He's doing better now. Trina's been keeping me informed on how he was
He
doing.
has a whole different view on it too, doesn't he?
I'm sure he does now.
Yeah.
But he said one of the first persons he seen was Brian, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
I actually think Brian came and visited me last night because I'm sitting in the backyard. First time ever, dragonfly comes right up to me. And I knew, me and Trina were talking. I said, I believe that was Brian coming up to me. She said, I think it was too.
Did you know that your loved one's soul can blend with consciousness through a bird or an insect, and they can actually manipulate that bird to come around you, or the dragonfly? And a lot of people see that. I experience that all the time in my backyard. But they actually meld with that animal's consciousness to get them to come closer to you, to let you know. Also, some of the things that my father would do and still does is he turns flashlights on in the garage and in the hallway. And I'll be thinking of him and I'll walk by the flashlight and it goes pop, pops on, pops off. And I'm like, hi, Pop.
Yeah.
And I have to say it to myself because I don't want to freak my mom out. Go ahead, Sophia.
Yeah.
My dad uses moths and butterflies So, because he knows I love them. So, of course, that's what they're going to do to put a smile on our face, to help us raise our vibration in spite of navigating our emotions connected to it.
Yeah. Hey, I'm
And
here. I'm with you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like I'm right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be okay
Well,
eventually.
when you're grieving, though, you're putting out so many low vibe, dense emotions that you can't pick up on that. You need to lift the vibration because you're like, well,
Right.
why is he contacting you and not contacting me? Well, you're in a totally different mindset of grief, and that's going to hold a barrier between communicating. So you
Because we're
really
not on
want
the
to
same
lift,
frequency.
yeah, you really want to lift that vibe.
Yep.
Um, I did want to get to this comment really quick. Grumpy Stack's having a problem with I need help. I will never take the route. I will never take the route of a friend of mine who took his own life about a month ago. Okay, suicide, that's a very complicated setup. And that's an opportunity to leave the Earth School. It's just one of maybe 5 ways you set yourself up to leave the Earth School. But the problem with suicide is it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back kind of a thing, and you'll have to come back and redo it. And also knowing that life is a gift, that this body that you're in is a gift from God's source itself. And to take your own life, who knows why or what the reasons were for it? You can't even begin to know. Some people have mental issues. Some people can't take it anymore. Some people just want to go home. And that's a tough route to take. Go ahead, Sophia.
I would say, in addition to my many persuasions, the door of reformation is never closed here or hereafter. So,
Hmm.
in my experience, when someone shortens their contract in
Hmm.
that fashion, there are still certain things that they need to address. In my experience, so I would say I don't believe if you take your life, you go to what the Bible or the people that read the Bible say. I don't believe that. That's
Mm-mm.
very low vibrational and
Hmm.
limited thinking.
Hmm.
I would say completing your contract is always the best, but
Right.
having a loved one in spirit that passed in that fashion,
Hmm.
to entertain such a low vibrational concept of what's going on with them, it really hurts when I see people embracing that limited mindset as to, if you do this, this is what happens.
Hmm.
My connection with spirit is much more complex than, if you do A, B happens.
Right.
I don't see that very
Oh, yeah, I
often.
subscribe to that, yeah, and the
Yeah.
first place they go, especially people who are, let's say you're dealing with cancer or physically you've got problems or anything like that, to where you feel like you're not whole and perfect, the first place you go is to the healing realms, and it's kind of like a soul wash. It washes away all the negativity, it makes you whole and perfect again, and just know that they're not living the same life they did on the earth plane. In the
Yeah.
etheric planes, they are
Yeah.
literally getting help, they're being counseled, they're holding their hand, they're bringing them back to a state of wellness. And for
Hmm.
me, that helped a lot because my father had a lot going on. He had cancer, he had COPD, um, he was bipolar, and he had a lot going on. But
Yeah.
knowing that that's the place where he went and that it was really important that I knew that he was okay and that he was getting help, because the Earth School is the toughest in the universe. It is the hardest, number one hardest place to come. And you have to be an advanced soul to come here. You really do. You got to be made of some tough stuff to have a lifetime here. Go ahead, Teresa.
No, I agree 100%. And I have been visited by friends, relatives, my own niece, my sister, now that I'm
Hmm.
more forgiving of the situations early on. Um, a floodgate opened, and I get a surge of visitations in my dream state and in my visions. or during the day when I'm out in the garden or doing something, that will come in. And it's amazing to me how many different stories there are out there and perceptions of this healing place. For some people, it's a healing chamber. For other people, the souls are telling them they go to a special hallway or special classroom. Um, Others have souls telling them that it's more of a hospital type situation.
It's been described to me as a crystal cave.
A crystal cave,
Oh,
which is often what
I.
I see in my
Mhm,
visions. So for me, it's all about that cave or cocoon. Sometimes it's a
mhm,
cocoon.
mhm.
But it took me a while to realize uh, that this is just a different way of our individual expression of consciousness, how we perceive things and view things, even in our subconscious state.
Mhm.
And the important thing, it's not necessarily the where or that it's an actual physical place. It might be more of a metaphor. It might just be an energy state, a frequency vibration, a different dimension
Absolutely, it is.
where we go to when we're, because one of the questions we were asking in the YouTube description here was, and in the video we may have mentioned it, is do they experience the same grief process we experience on this side? So when we cross over, what are the stages that we go through for letting go and moving on? And if you listen to all these different stories and you have your own, and you're fortunate enough to have your own visions or dreams, and they come to you in your dreams, they not only bring you profound wisdom about situations and events or premonitions about things that might happen, but they also tell you one of the very first things they need to do is to stay with you until you're less hysterical about their passing. They will
They
tell
wanna
you
make
that
sure you're okay. Yep.
they want to make sure you're okay
Mhm,
because they can't let go of the physical plane completely until they
mhm,
know the ones they loved are okay.
mhm. Especially
And
if they made life hard for you.
yeah,
Let's just say you had a hard life with this person. When they reach the other side,
yeah,
they've seen what they've done and how their actions affected you. Now they're ready to give you that aid, to show you that love because now they're
yeah,
pure love in that state of being, and they want to do everything they can to make it better for you.
right. And that's why it was so important. And you didn't even realize it at the time when we were communicating. You just started channeling my mom, and you
Mm,
started bringing my mom, and I'm like, oh my god,
mm,
those are things that only mom and I would know.
mhm.
And she used Lori as that bridge to reach
Your
out
mom's
to me
cool.
to get me to let go
Mm,
and forgive.
yeah.
And with Dad, it was less of a haunting than it was just pay attention to me. I have to tell you something. I need you to
Didn't
know I'm sorry about this.
Yeah. Well, when we were talking in the early days when I first met you, you were in your kitchen and we were doing a FaceTime. I think it was on Messenger or something like that.
Uh huh. Hmm.
And didn't that urn, your father's urn, fall or move or shift or something
It was
off the shelf?
shaking. It was
Yeah.
shaking, and there was no window rattling. There were no explosions in the neighborhood. It was
Hmm.
just shaking, and I kept hearing his voice calling out to me at night. And it would wake me up, and I'd start wandering the house, wondering where it was coming from. And that urn was just rattling away, and you were like, bam, connected.
Yeah. He's telling
And
me.
you channeled, she's channeled my dad.
Yeah. He
And
wanted
again,
he
there's
wanted to
only
make
certain
peace.
things I would know
Mhm. Mhm.
that nobody else knew, that
Yeah.
Lori knew. So I know it's real.
Mhm.
But that's because I wasn't letting him in,
Yeah.
and I was seeing him as a threat.
You weren't ready to
But
forgive.
I wasn't ready, and I had to release. And so he used her as a mechanism or a way of knowing that I trusted her completely
Mhm.
to open up enough to be able to share
An open channel
details.
like Sophia
Yeah, an
does,
open
yeah.
channel.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
so that's what I was trying to share with the folks who are making comments in the chat room. There are different. It's a place when so once they can do that, they can move on to their own life review and healing and damaged souls. Look, there are things that people do on purpose, but they also learned certain reactions and behaviors and made choices to do some not so great things as part of their story. And they become, in their own perception, and in ours too, contaminated. I'm not saying evil, but they do things that are just horrible. And so they have to let go of that, and they have to live up to it, and they have to face it. And so there's no judgment, we're told, by these souls. There's no one entity that's saying, thou shalt fry in hell and burn forever. That's not what it's about. It's about them reckoning with their own
love and
soul.
forgiveness.
And so need to be repaired. They're damaged, and they go to a place where they heal and repair to come back into the family of all that energy, of all that is, to partake once again in living in existence. They can't die. They can't not exist. And there's no judgment. There's nothing. I don't care what the different religions say. I've been told time and time and again, and I remember my own passing in at least 2 different lifetimes, that there's a place we go for respite and care and relaxation and healing. And we go through our life review and we work on that. But we can't get there until we know that those we've left behind and had those agreements with are okay. And so that's what the dream weavers do. And there are many that are experienced. They kind of like, how we have earth angels? There are dream weavers, that specialize souls that work with different aspects of your past life memories, or that work with you in your now, in your experiences now. They come into your dreams as different people and different characters and different energies to bring you the knowledge, the wisdom, the peace, and the comfort you need to get through this most difficult situations you've got going on in your life. And I thoroughly believe this. Now, you might not, because you may not have experienced it yet, but I got through some of the most difficult times, including thoughts of suicide, including severe depression, including alcoholism, because these spirits came to me. I just didn't hear them. I just didn't know it at the time. But now, when I go back and replay it and I look at each situation and I see those visitations for what they were, I can appreciate them. And that gives me a great deal of hope and a great deal of comfort in my now, that if anybody I know that I care about or I haven't seen in a while, whatever, if they move on, they might very well try to get my attention. And so I pay attention to my dreams.
And that's a good segue into how do you connect with them in your dreams. So really, it's simple. Just make the intent. So for example, Doug, just to let you know, my spirit guide committed suicide, and he knows exactly how it affected his family. There were soul agreements involved, and it was a pretty intricate thing. But for you, if you could just find the love that you have in your heart for your buddy that took his life, and set the intention before you go to sleep tonight to want to communicate, to get a message from him. Ask him to give you a message. There will be some healing in there for you. And because you're in such a state of grief and you may feel responsible for some of that, you might be taking on some of the guilt and the shame of it in a way. He will help you find a way to make peace with that energy. And once you do, then you can move forward from it. But the guilt and shame and all of that doesn't do anyone any good. It's like worrying. How does that change anything? It doesn't. It doesn't change a thing. So consider that when you go to bed tonight. And I know he would say to you, don't beat yourself up for something I did. You're not responsible for me. You're not responsible for the actions I took, and I take full
Yeah.
responsibility for that. And that's
Yeah.
not on you, buddy. That's not on you. That's on me. So don't you
Yeah.
dare put that kind of guilt and shame on yourself. It's so unnecessary. You don't need to do that. That's
No.
not your, you don't have the right to do that sometimes. I think that spirits feel that way. You're like, don't do that to yourself. But who knows? It could be a contract between you and him so that you could feel
Yeah.
that loss. There's so many variations and ways to look at it. But to know that he's in a good place now and that he made that decision, back your buddy up. Okay, you made that decision. I'm sorry you left us. Well, I didn't want you to go, but it's okay now. It's okay. I'm going to make peace with it. And when I make peace with it, you'll feel peace too. Do you want your buddy to have some peace, or do you want him to be worried about you the whole time that you're holding on to it? Ask yourself those questions. And then put that into the dream state before you go to bed and ask for a message. And I guarantee you, if you're ready to hear it, he'll be there and he'll give you the message.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Brian, what do
There
you
was
think
a
about that? Hang on, sorry.
You were absolutely correct. You put the antenna out there, but are you willing to receive that message? Because some people aren't. They might put the antenna out there, but they're really not wanting to get that message because they don't want to
They don't
confront
feel
that.
deserving of it. It's
Right.
like you just, it's all in your perception and how you're going to
right.
look at it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, do you
Definitely.
want to hold
Yeah.
on to that, or do you want to release it and let it go with love and kindness in your heart? And that
Right.
helps them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was an
Definitely.
apartment complex that I grew up in. We
Mhm.
lived there after my mom and dad got divorced, 13 years. There was actually 4 kids that lived in that addition that committed suicide later in life.
A tough way out.
Yeah, and 3 of them I were close to. 2 of them I were really close to,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I suffer from depression. I thought about it a few times, but you know, is it really worth taking your life? And that's how you have to look at it.
Well,
You
it
know.
gets you out of the earth school, but again, it sets you
Right.
back. And then you have to make up for that, because look at how it affected everyone around you. And now
Right.
you carry not the burden, but you carry the knowledge that it is affecting people that way.
Right.
Teresa? Yeah.
Some suicides occur not out of deliberate intent, but because of what the human body is going through physically. A lot of different types of medications. It could be an issue where they're dying from a chronic illness and they're reaching the end of life and they'll realize it.
Extenuating circumstances, yeah.
Severe pain and discomfort. They've given up all hope of, and they're afraid of dying, but they just want to end it all because they need to step out of their misery. And so they stop eating and they stop drinking. They don't, and they might overdose or they might deliberately not take their medications. And so we never really know what's going on in somebody else's head. And so in my case, my dad was reaching his end of life, and but he didn't have to. He still had a lot of options, and so a couple of us were kind of really annoyed by his just giving up. We didn't understand. He was in denial, and we didn't understand him to go. And that's one of the first things they do is they stop eating. Well, souls go through a similar process. They when they cross over, they linger. They don't know why they can't leave. They don't know why they're stuck in a certain location. They don't understand why they keep hanging out in a place where they suddenly lost their lives. Or maybe they had a drug overdose and they're still hanging out at the crack house.
Especially if it's sudden.
Yeah, especially if it's sudden. And so I found myself being more accepting now of understanding that it might not be deliberate, or it could be, but whatever it is, to have compassion for both the living and the dead
Mhm.
as they're going through these final stages. But I wanted to add something else. These dream weavers, has anybody ever experienced a complete stranger in their dreams that's trying to tell you something, and you're having this dream and you don't recognize the person? You don't recognize the energy. It's nobody you ever knew. They just pop into your dream and they start telling you. I had one pop into my dream that I didn't know who it was until I saw his picture later. But this guy came into one of my dreams, and he was trying to tell me, he was showing me scenes of someone I'm very close to who was getting ready to die in a car accident. And it showed this group of young people in this car pulled over on the side of the roadway, and that they were all going to die by some drunk driver or some vehicle. And there was a smash up, an explosion. I saw the whole thing. And he's like, you need to warn this person not to be in this vehicle. And so I was doing the laundry downstairs, and I was giving it a lot of thought. And I heard a movement, of banging down the hallway in our storage room area. And I went to investigate what it was. And I kept hearing these horns. You know how you have the angelic horns,
Mm-hmm.
where and you hear a symphony of angelic,
Yep.
that kind
Like
of.
at Camp Chesterfield.
Yeah, I
Yes.
heard sound. It was a sound.
Yeah.
I call it a divine sound now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go down the religious road with it. I just say
Mm-hmm.
that there's a vibration. It comes in a form of sound, and
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like thousands of voices or
Mm-hmm.
horns. And this was like horns going off. And I'm like, where the hell is that coming from? Is it my next door neighbors? Or are they having a party? Or what the hell's going on in the middle of the day? And then I felt vibration on the wall. And I had my hand on the wall. And I looked up, and there was a picture on the wall of this guy that someone in my family had drawn. And it was shaking. It was shaking. And it was his teacher that he had drawn in stippled effect, a stippled effect. And I didn't think much of it. I didn't make the connection. And then I realized, oh my God, that's the face that I saw in my dream that was warning me about the kids not taking that route. So I didn't want to be interfering, but I'm like, they're going to think I'm nuts if I call them, because nobody believes in what I believe in my family. But I took it. I took the bait. I just went ahead and did it. I called them and said, "Are you going to a special event?" "Yeah, I'm going with a couple friends." I'm like, "Drive yourself."
Mm-hmm.
"Why?" "Just you and your girlfriend, drive yourself. Don't get in that car with those other people. Trust me. I'm
Mm.
telling you, I dreamt it."
Trust Aunt Teresa.
Okay. All right. So about 3 or 4 days later, I think it was about 3 days later, the event occurred, and the kids had pulled over on the side of the road. They had run out of gas, and they were calling the father to come bring them a gas tank. And this drunk woman smashed into them and killed them. The
And your
the two
nephew
kids.
and his girlfriend would have been in that car.
They were in a different vehicle, and they made it
Yeah.
safely to the event and didn't even know their friends had been
What was
killed.
his attitude like when he found out?
Oh my God.
Uh-huh.
You know? So, and I didn't really do a lot of follow up with it. This family's very personal about things.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really get in his face with it a whole lot, but
Mm-hmm.
that was a dream. That to me is a prime example of a dream weaver. That's why I know this is real.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I know this isn't a figment of my imagination or a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
When things like that happen, it's real. So
Mm-hmm.
I pay more attention now, even when I see a stranger in my dream.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dreamweaver soul. It's a soul that may have been affiliated
Mm-hmm.
with my soul family group, or it may have been a completely different soul that
Yeah.
was more of a familiar with that man's, and
Mhm.
he appreciated his student enough to want to
Mhm.
reach out to someone who he knew was spiritually aware and could receive the message
Right.
to be able to convey it. That's how they work in the
Mm.
in the afterlife.
Yep.
So if you don't believe your loved ones are working and doing things, they are. It might not be with you, it might be with other people, but everybody's doing something somewhere in some dimension to help. So I take great comfort in that.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter what they did while they were here in a particular emanation. They could have been the nicest person in the world, or they could have been, a criminal. But in the afterlife, that ego is gone, and what they have is love, appreciation, and they still want to help.
Mhm.
There's a whole sea, a whole universe of helpers out there. You
Right.
are never alone.
Mhm.
That's
Yep.
why I don't have any more fear about that's why I'm the way I am now, because like God, I'm not alone.
Mhm. You have an
Even in my most
understanding.
isolated, yeah, even when
Mhm.
I get these melancholy moments. Lori and I've been talking about that the past couple of days. And sometimes I get, with all the isolation and the weather, I get this melancholy that comes over me, and it's not really depression. It's just a you all have had those kind of days, right?
It's depression.
Yeah, yeah. It's not depression, but it's like a I'm kind of
Mhm.
bored.
Mhm. Mhm.
She's not gonna
Sophia
let
has
me
a
off the
comment.
hook. She's not gonna let me off the
No,
hook.
I'm not gonna let
But
you off
but
the.
but really, I get these melancholy
Mhm.
moods, and sometimes it'll last for a day or two, and then I'll be fine. But it's in those moments, if you could just remember that there's this whole team of souls out there looking after you,
Mhm.
and they're coming into your energy field, and
Yeah.
really it's coming from deep within you,
Mhm. Because you're the
but
conduit.
they're giving you that extra
Mm.
surge of energy to be able to
Mhm.
vibrate at a point where you could
Mhm.
snap yourself out of a lot of situations.
Yeah.
I
But
agree
Yeah.
completely.
Have you
Uh,
experienced that, Sophia?
Well, when you're navigating grief, loss, a major change in your life, even if it's a positive change,
Mhm.
it can, the acclimation situation, returning to a place of center, a place of comfort, a place of acceptance, what I have done that I have found very helpful, that maybe someone else will, and this is why I'm sharing it, is when I can't break into a higher frequency, when I'm feeling stuck. I will hum, because not everybody can sing, but sometimes I don't even
yeah,
feel like engaging. I want to be down in that lower energy, the anger, and,
Mhm.
just feel it. And it's like, okay, that's fine. My guides are like, take your moment. But if you're going to be there, you
Mhm.
might as well be productive about it. So, like writing, painting. And when it comes to writing, you know, print, cursive, eyeliner, crown, pen, I don't care. Your feelings are valid. What you're experiencing it for a reason. So when you finish doing what I call mind vomit or emotional dumping, and you're like, okay, I feel better,
I
or at
love
mind
that.
least,
vomit.
yeah. Oh,
Blah!
I've got a journal
Let's get it
that's
out.
it's called mind vomit, and the only way out is through.
Ew.
The only way out is through. So
Yeah,
once I
Mhm.
have my moment, if you will, um, I hum, I put on, music, because it might irritate you at first. That's normal, because
Mhm.
that music is at a frequency up here and
Yep.
you're down here. So if you're like, on a good day, I love this music, right? And
Mhm.
then in a safe place, in a safe container, I light candles. I put on even those Glade plugins, man. If pumpkin spice is your jam, do it on
yeah.
purpose. You know, the
Glade.
the
That's cute.
I couldn't help it.
Glade.
I am that nerd. Yeah, Glade, like
That's so cute.
Tarjay.
Yeah, I like that.
But
Letarge.
yeah,
Mhm.
but I feel when you take those steps to purposely give yourself traction, and it takes practice. In
Mhm.
my mind, I see my loved ones that are now in spirit going, dude, look at her.
Yeah.
Look at her.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
she had option A, B, and C. You know, I can waller in my emotions as long as I
Yeah.
want to, but in my persuasion, spirit can see us and can participate with us. And
Yes.
if my loved ones are watching, I want to give them something to be like, yo, did you see what she just did? Oh my gosh. You
Yeah.
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
like,
They get a
yeah,
kick
go
out
team
of us.
Sophia. You know,
Mhm. They
it,
do.
it's so much more than what our culture gives it credit. And
Mhm.
if you are struggling fighting back, that's why I love it. For me, this show is a ministry because we have the difficult conversations. We
Mhm.
are a community.
Mhm.
And if you're navigating something, reach out to one of us. We This is not for lack of other things to do. This is
Yeah.
a calling. This is a
Yep.
burden, and we're here to help each other.
We're
So
in service.
if you're gonna get mad, get good and freaking mad, and then
Yeah.
let and pull up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
pull
Yeah.
Exactly.
up.
Yep.
Because and then I'll close with this. With what I do, being a psychic medium, if I don't deal with it and I can't hold at least courage or better, it puts me out of service.
Mhm.
And what's the point of having these gifts if
Mhm.
you're not
Yep.
walking through it to raise your frequency? And I don't know about you, but I'm not much of a bench warmer, kids. So the only way out is through.
Brian's laughing.
And he knows me. That's a lot of
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
And we weren't meant to walk things like this, especially things like this, alone. So
Mhm.
No. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
gotta post this comment. Thank you, Sophia. That was great.
thank
Mary Mansfield says, "I lost Dad 8 years ago. Mom last week. I think being in such a different spiritual space in my life has changed how I grieve. Acceptance has come much more quickly, knowing death is not an ending. I
Exactly.
totally resonate with that and agree with you 100%.
Exactly. Yep.
Absolutely." When I first
That
had I
cross.
wanted to share yeah, first I did wanna share something with you guys. When I first started coming into the spirituality and I was getting connection from spirit, I asked my guide if he could go to the angels and ask them if they could sing in my ear. And he said, "Yeah, I can do that." And I'm like, "Really? You can?" He's like, "Yeah, I can do that." But I wasn't sure when this was gonna happen, and I woke up one night about a week later, and I could hear angels in the background like a choir, and it was so faint, and I could hear it only in one ear. And as I'm in that kind of theta state, I said out loud in my mind, "I can hear you. I can hear you. I hear you." And that's when things really shifted and changed because I knew I had the love and support of not only my guides, my ancestors, but the angels were there for me as well. And it was an amazing experience. And I never forgot it. And I cannot tell you how quickly you become a believer when that kind of stuff happens to you. It's beyond synchronicity, it's proof positive in my mind.
Yeah.
And I don't need to convince anyone of it. I know that's the truth, right, Sophia?
I feel that it is perfectly acceptable to ask your loved ones for evidence.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I would say asking and expecting, but not being attached to the outcome or how it's going to unfold.
Exactly.
Allow a space for the divine to step forward. Set your intentions, do your actions. I mean, this is manifestation 100, and asking for the evidence. There's nothing wrong with that. And Lori,
No.
what you just explained is a perfect example. You set your
Mm-hmm.
intention, you made your request, you get not because you ask not.
Mhm.
We're all so more powerful and influential than we realize. So claim your truth and ask for the evidence and be patient.
Yeah.
You will
Dolly
not be
Belfort.
disappointed.
Mhm.
Dolly says, "You're right, Sophia. It should not be an isolating experience."
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah,
Excellent. Well said. Uh,
yeah.
Grumpy Stack says, Lori, can you get your guides to make me hate loving the taste of alcohol? And I know you're making light of it, but that's your cross to bear there, bud. That is your cross to bear. And
Talk to
until
your
you decide,
alchemist.
yep, until you decide, that's gonna be how it's gonna be for you.
Yeah, we can't get our
Yeah,
guides to make
nope,
us do anything. They
nope.
nudge, they
It's
help, they
it's from
coach.
you, right?
It has to come from within you. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You can do it, buddy. You can do it.
definitely. Yep. You just gotta want
yeah.
it bad enough.
I
I
did
believe in
have,
you.
I did have
Mm-hmm.
like three separate angelic visitations, Doug, of souls that were trying to help me understand why I was doing that, why I kept drinking, and eventually they brought me to my own self realization that these were things that I was doing to myself, and nobody was responsible. Nobody caused it but me.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to be willing to let it go,
Mm-hmm.
just
Take
like any other kind of
responsibility.
habit. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. And that's hard. That's really hard for people to
yeah,
think that they're responsible for their actions and what they bring about in their own lives. You always want to say it's someone else's fault, but doing
yeah.
the inner work and just having the strength to go, wow, how did I create this situation? How did I create any situation that's going on in my life? Once you get to that place, then you can begin to heal and move past it.
It all comes from the very first question: is why in the hell am I doing this to
Yeah.
myself?
Right. And Lucky says, my guides cannot make me do anything, but they can be very persuasive. Sometimes guides can be annoying.
Yeah,
They
it
have
can.
this innate ability to nudge. Mine says
Yes.
he nudges. He never tells me how to, because I have free will and I am a sovereign
Yeah,
being, and you can't do that. There are laws and codes in that realm that you don't do that kind of stuff, but they can give a gentle nudge and they'll get
yeah,
you to think about it. But you're right, Lucky. That's very true. Very true.
yeah.
Love that. Brian, how you feeling about that? Have you dealt with that yourself?
Yeah, well, Doug, I know you can do it. It's been 28 years for me,
Mm,
and I just, well, I went out, I drank 14 Long Island iced teas and drove home, and then the next day I was like, nope, I'm gonna kill me or someone else, and I quit drinking that next day,
mm-hmm.
November 1st. Now 28 years ago, I was 30 years old. So I know you can do it because I was a hardcore drinker.
You
So I
know,
know you
Doug,
can do it.
you tackled the weight thing. Now
Oh yeah,
you've got more work to do, but you can do it. And you've
yeah,
got the support, the love and support, not only the soul tribe of the people around you, but also your guides and your ancestors and the angelic realms and many
yeah,
others, I'm sure. But yeah, you're not alone in it, even though you are not. And understanding how it works is
Yeah.
really the first steps to healing yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
guys. Amazing
yeah.
conversation. Think we should maybe get to final thoughts. Um, Teresa, final thoughts for you. I'll start with you tonight.
Okay. Well, it's just it's your just take a look at these relationships that you have with people in your inner circle and that are close to you, whether it be at your place of work or your family or a group of friends. If you're having issues with them, if you've got things going on, and you close your eyes and you just, do I feel any resentment? Do I feel any judgment? Do I feel any disgust? Do I feel like there might be things going on between you and a loved one, or
Mm-hmm.
a good friend, that do you really want, and then you say, do I really want to carry this to the end of my life?
Mm-hmm.
Do I really want to have this on my bookshelf in my closet? And then when something happens, then have to relive it all again through the way I express myself. And so um, sometimes things are so painful that you can't fix it now.
How
And
do
you
we
do
let
have
go,
to.
Teresa? How does somebody just let go?
It's the hardest thing to do, and it's not overnight. It's a gradual process. And as long as you don't beat yourself over the head for
Mm-hmm.
not being able to do it right away, that's okay too. It might take many years, or many prayer sessions, or many meditations. But um, how do you do it? You just make a decision
Mm-hmm.
to not want to live that way. The question is, do I want to live my life this way? Do I want to carry this grudge or this memory or this problem with me for the rest of my life? And if the answer is no, it's not serving your purpose, then don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
Just stop it. Knock it off and don't fricking do it.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't want to drink anymore? Fricking don't drink anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Stop bitching about it and just don't drink. I almost ran my car into people and killed a whole entire family. So I know I don't want to do it. So I stopped doing it. And that's where you need to get to with things,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're holding anything in with people. I've got this one woman who keeps telling me he didn't do this and he didn't do that. And I didn't get this and he didn't do this for me. And I stopped talking to her because it's like, let go. And only you know when you're able to do that. Nobody can do this for you. So that's the biggest thing when it comes to grief that I deal with in my own family and in my own community and with my own friends. You bring crap on and you keep loading it on and stacking it on and saying, how do I get out of this?
Mm-hmm.
How can I heal from this? I'm
Mm-hmm.
depressed. Knock yourself upside the head and say, cut it out. You're
Call
better than
someone.
this. You're more
Mm-hmm.
important than this. You deserve more than this. You are loved. You are supported.
And you're
You've
worthy of
got,
it.
you've got to be willing to smack yourself upside the head and say, let go. And until that happens, you're just going to be stuck in a cycle, stuck in a process. And then when a loved one does pass on, you might have to carry that guilt like I did for years. For years. I'm 64. My mom died when she was 30, when I was 36.
Mm-hmm.
My dad died after I don't know, I guess I was about 45.
Mm-hmm.
And I held on to all this crap. And it
Mm-hmm.
wrecked my body. It made me physically ill. It made me not a nice person at times.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't move on with my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was stuck and I kept getting in more trouble and more trouble and more trouble. You just have to let go and appreciate yourself and respect yourself and love yourself enough to know that
Mm-hmm.
you're worth it. And so are they. Because
Mm-hmm.
whatever they went through, that was hard for them too. They're not perfect. You weren't perfect. Nobody's freaking perfect. And we all make mistakes because that's how we learn.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we grow and that's how we find out who we are. If everything was just hunky dory for our entire life, we might not learn anything of substantial.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we find ourselves. It's how we relate to others. It's how we help heal others too. It's
Mm-hmm.
how we find our gifts. It's how we find our talents.
Yeah.
And
And
you just have to let go.
and you got to be willing to do the work, and really
Yeah.
that's on you. Yeah, and no one can you can only share what you know and try to pass that on to others, but they truly are have to be the ones to take those steps to make those
Yeah.
changes.
Woe is me. I'm such a F up.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Well, keep
Why are you
telling
an F up?
yourself that. Keep telling
Keep telling
yourself that.
yourself, and you will be. Is that what?
Mhm.
Are you happy that you get to go around telling everybody you're an F up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are you effing things up? Just stop effing things up, and you won't be an F up. You see? It's that simple. It really
Yeah.
is that simple. I'm
Need a
not being
bumper sticker that
sarcastic.
says no F ups here.
I'm not being sarcastic, and I'm not trying to be
I
mean
know.
or rude.
I know
I'm
you're
just
being
saying that
honest
that's
and you're
where
coming
I
from your
had to.
heart.
That's me. It's my
Mhm.
story. That was me. I think it's a lot of people too. Maybe this will help you if you're one of those people.
Mhm.
And if you're not, no offense intended. It's
Mhm.
just that sometimes I wish I had slapped myself earlier and
Mhm.
saved
Or
myself
had someone to
years of
say
grief
these
and
things.
pain. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Yep.
And what did the universe do? The universe bought me more than one angel. They bought me you all. They bought me to all of you, and you
Mhm.
helped.
Yeah.
And they brought me Lori, my best friend, and she's helped. And she's put up with
Bestie.
my bullshit. She's put up with my moments of craziness. Not to judge me, but to help me see it for
Mhm.
what it was. And so
Right.
our guides used her
Mhm.
because we
Yeah.
have that soul connection. So we
Mhm.
found each other in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Brian, same thing.
Same. Mhm.
There's times where Brian and I have chatted. We
Mhm.
haven't done that in a while because we've both been pretty busy here lately.
Yeah.
But Dalibor and I will get into some things. It's just that we have each other
Mhm.
and we can vent and not be judged.
Yep. Yep.
So anyway,
Well, thank you, Teresa, for being honest and sharing
sorry,
that
I'm just very passionate about
and
that.
coming from your heart. That means a lot. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Sophia, how about you, my dear?
I would say closing thoughts that when we perceive losing someone, what we're telling ourselves is very important. Like Teresa was saying, thoughts are things, energy follows thought. While we're talking about natural law, universal law, whatever, the only constant in the universe is change. Is the
Mhm.
universe not constantly expanding? Are we not aging? Are things that we buy don't wear out? That's part of the deal. You know, when because I'm going to speak for myself, because it doesn't work the same for everybody. Not every death is exactly the same. Not every form of healing is exactly the same. I would
Mhm.
say be gentle with yourself if slapping yourself isn't an approach, because that wouldn't work for me, but obviously it works for Teresa. So if
Mhm.
that is your process, embrace it. If you're happy, healthy, and growing in any degree of intensity, pursue it. This reminds me of a meme that I saw on Facebook the other day. You know, our time on this planet, we're not to know the balance that's left. Some of us, oh, I want to know. Do you really? Do you? you know um but I would say the challenge with grief is allowing the process, because I got hung up in the anger. That was mine, because it's like, how dare you? And then spirit, when I calmed my mind, was like, it's the way it's supposed to be. No one said you had to like it.
Mhm.
So
True.
so allowing and creating comfort for yourself while you're healing and acclimating was very helpful. Releasing the selfishness, because like we spoke about before, if we're just writhing with it, and embracing an illusion, that things were going to happen otherwise, okay, it's not easy. And to release what limitations we can when we're ready to release them. It's not the same for everybody.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then what I did was, when I was ready to release something, I replaced it with something higher and better in equal measure. So you're honoring natural law and you're working with the energy that's already around all of
Yeah.
us.
Mhm.
So you can use that to your advantage. And then with change, if it's going to happen, you can take an assertive approach and facilitate the change. So, for instance, this might sound goofy, but it's really helped me. And if it helps someone else, then it's worth, being
Yeah.
goofy on live
Uh-huh.
TV or
I
live
love it.
YouTube. It's as simple as rearranging your ancestors' altar. If there's going to be change, facilitate your own change, even if
Yeah.
it's something small. And sometimes, if I'm having a good physical day, I'll rearrange the furniture in the living room or in my Zen den. We weren't meant to be down here and be miserable. And when we quiet our mind and take the time to at least hum and close your eyes or sing or whatever you can to self edify, to pull yourself back up, you do have energy and guides with you. They're meant to help you, but you have to want that.
Mm-hmm.
We have a free will, like Lori said.
Mm-hmm. And
They,
be
they
open to
can
it.
nudge, suggest, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but I've had enough misery for one lifetime. And yeah, I have my moments, I take my
Yeah.
companion dog of 15 years away and
Yeah.
it's like, wow,
Yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it, 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 I was just happy to have the privilege to spend all that time with her.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yep.
And to
Absolutely.
really know that every single day is a gift when you
it
have your
is.
loved ones around. So really live
Tell them
live
you love
life
them.
like it is a gift, and
Make it
you'll
awkward.
you'll see. Yeah,
I
make
like
it
what
awkward.
I
I
like what
love
Mary
you, man.
Look,
Yeah.
hey, I like what Mary Mansfield said here. Thank you for
Uh-huh.
saying this, Mary. Sometimes we truly are our own worst enemy. The trick is not staying in the enemy camp and learning to
Yes.
be our own biggest cheerleader.
Get it,
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well said,
100%.
Mary.
Got it. Uh,
Sorry, Brian.
yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
Uh, well, love is probably one of the most beautiful things that we could ever experience, but also the most painful thing that we can ever experience because of the loss of loved ones, pets, all that.
Hmm.
I really look at it way differently now than what I used to.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
this is not where we're truly meant to be. The other side is where our spirit is truly meant to be. We're just here to experience being human. These avatars only last so long. It's not
Mhm.
like the Energizer Bunny where it just keeps going. No, there's a time limit on these avatars. So we're
Hmm.
only here to experience
Yeah.
being a human for a certain amount of time, or where we truly belong as the other side. So I start looking more like it's a celebration to returning home. Yeah, I'm sad that you're no longer here, but it's a celebration for me now because you actually return to our true form, which is the spirit.
Hmm.
Uh, one of the first things I did right after my dad was passed away was to make sure that he was forgiven for all the abuse that he inflicted on us.
Hmm.
I wanted him to know it, and I mean, and that was minutes after he passed away. I just wanted to let him know that way it made his transition easier for him, knowing that he was forgiven. Now it was time for him to learn how to forgive himself for what he did.
Hmm. And you released him from that. Not only did you release him, you
I
released
released
yourself.
exactly,
Yeah.
and my family because my mom forgave him a long time ago, and so I just wanted to make sure he knew that
Hmm.
all was forgiven. That there's no ties to what happened in the past.
That's
It's
pure
all been
love.
forgiven. Yep,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
and I'm sure that really helped him in his healing process on the other side.
Yeah. Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys got something out of this discussion and you got to see some different views and understandings. And I hope it creates some kind of healing for you or steps in the right direction, however that may affect you. But when I was talking to my spirit guide today, he said something to me that was really kind of profound. I never thought about it, but he said, Spirit has the body of space.
Yeah.
And I thought, Damn, Eric, that is profound. Spirit has the body of space, and when you're in the body, you have this expansive space in a body, which is just a small part of who you are. But to know that you are that spirit in the space of a body of in the body of space, that just blew my mind, because that just showed me how expansive you are when you're not here. And
Mhm.
that, you guys, this is just something we're doing. We're having a great time. We're learning, we're growing, we're expanding. And before you know it, we'll be off to something else ourselves. So, keep that in mind. That's all I've got to say about that. But anyway, thank
Okay.
you all for joining us tonight. Thank you, Sophia. So much love and appreciation for you, my dear. Teresa, the same. Brian, thank you all for coming here and being with us each week. Thank you all in chat for those who are watching and will,
Right.
view this later. We hope you get something out of it, because really this is a labor of love to do these shows and to put ourselves out there and to be that light for you. So,
And hugs to you, Brother Dalibor. Hope you feel better.
yes,
I'll catch up with
Dalibor.
you tomorrow.
Love you,
Yes,
buddy.
feel better. Sending you
Yes.
scalar healing. Yep, you got it. All
And
right.
on
Well,
behalf
until
of the
next
entire,
week.
hang on,
Yep.
Lori,
Go ahead.
on behalf of the entire community,
Yeah.
And Trina, we know
Mhm.
you're in contact with Wayne.
Mhm.
Give him our love and support, and let him know that we're
Absolutely.
sending him a lot of healing, and however
Yeah.
things turn out for him, for the best.
Yeah. He's
We
got
hope for
more
the
to
best.
do. He's got more
Yep.
to do. You
Yep.
bet. All right. Much love
Okay.
and appreciation for you all. And choose
Bye,
love.
all.
Actually, be love, and the rest is cake. How's that? Bye now. Peace and love,
Later.
everyone. Later.
Love you, Dougie.